Our last speaker, we have Sydney Orme. Sydney grew up under the bright lights of Las Vegas, Nevada, but moved with her family and somehow managed to equally fall in love with the Washington rain. She's a visual communications major who spends most of her time behind the camera exploring the ways images can tell stories that words sometimes can't. Sydney dreams of being a humanitarian photographer, someone who uses her lens to help people feel seen. She is passionate about connection, how we build it, protect it, and what it reveals about who we really are. Sydney hopes her work and words remind others that feeling at home isn't about a place, it's about the people we let into our lives. Sydney.
Allow me to set the scene for you. You've had a terrible week. You're just down in the dumps. You just need to be by yourself. So, of course, you're in your living room, in your PJs, eating ice cream straight out of the tub, right? It's terrible. It's awful. And to top it all off, you want to watch your favorite show, so you look around once to make sure nobody's watching, and you turn on Barbie live in your house, obviously. But then the scene changes. You hear a rattle on your front door. And there's a strange man just standing in the doorway. And you didn't invite him. You don't know who he is. And to top it all off, he opens his mouth and says the words, "Hey, mind if we go sit on your bed and we talk about your feelings?" Now, I know some of you are laughing and feel uncomfortable, but why is that? Is it because you were in your pajamas? Is it because there's a strange man in your doorway? Or maybe it's because I said that simple word, feelings. No matter the case, I'm here to talk about today how I, unintentionally, was this person in the doorway. I was the one standing there saying, "Hey, let's talk about your feelings." And I did that by serving a mission for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I went to Argentina. I loved my mission. I loved connecting with people. But something different about Argentina is you don't just go up to the front door, knock on it, and connect with people. You always had something like this in front, a gate. And this gate was a struggle, let me tell you, because this gate made it so hard to connect with people. I would clap outside this gate waiting for somebody to come out, and when they finally met me, we'd start to talk, and I'd be like, "Okay, let's talk about your feelings. Do you believe in God?" And then a dog would start barking. Or I'd say, "Hey, tell me more about yourself," and then somebody else would walk by, and that was the case for my friend Enzo. And he's not in the picture, and I'll explain why in a little bit, but Enzo was always by the gate. We would knock, he'd meet us there, I'd be like, "Okay, tell me about your feelings, let's talk about the gospel," and his 5 dogs would start barking. Or he would see somebody he knew walk by and just talk to them for 30 minutes. And so I felt like I could never connect with Enzo because there was a physical boundary, a physical gate in my way. And I kept asking myself the question, why won't he let me in? My companions, we kept asking, why won't he let us in? And as I continued to ask myself that question, I realized I wasn't asking, why won't he let me into his house? I was asking the question, why won't he let me into his life? Why can I not connect with Enzo? Have you ever thought about how our relationships are kind of like a house? We get to choose who comes into our house. We get to choose which rooms they see, and we also get to choose which doors we shut, which ones we lock, because we don't want people to see certain things. But in order to understand this theory further, let's look at what each room represents, starting with the front porch. Now, the front porch is where we love to decorate, right? We have that awesome rocking chair. We have the Christmas lights. And this is how we are. We love to decorate ourselves. We love to have the welcome mat that says, "Yeah, come up, talk to me. I love talking to people." Or we have the do not disturb sign that says, "Do not approach me. I do not like you. I do not want to talk to you." And then we have our living room. And this space is a little bit bigger, right? This is where we want to have people over. We throw the parties. We're so excited to finally connect with people. But is it really connecting? We always tidy up. We want it to be perfect, right? And we shove everything we don't want to see in a hallway closet. So this is connection, but on a surface level. And then we have our bedroom, our inner room. And this is where we feel alone. This is where we feel like nobody will ever understand us. This is where we shut the door and we lock it because we don't want people to see what we're truly feeling. So why is it a room that's structured like the rest of our house? Why is it that it holds a different and special meaning? Now, I've thought about this a lot, and I've come up with four words to describe our bedroom, our inner room. We say that it's a sanctuary. We say that it's a safe haven. We say that it's a refuge, and we say that it's comfort. And if I were to say a word that kind of sums these all up together, I would say it's a place where we feel like we can be vulnerable. And that's another scary word. Feelings, vulnerability. Why is it scary? It's always been scary for me. And it's because this was my definition of vulnerability. The quality or state of being exposed to the possibility of being attacked or harmed, either physically or mentally. I don't know about you guys in the audience, but I personally don't want to expose myself to anybody. I don't want to physically or mentally harm anybody, and I don't want them to do that to me. So vulnerability, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be a part of that. But is that really the definition of vulnerability? Is it that we have to expose ourselves in order to connect with people? I truly believe that's not the case. And I would like to quote John Gottman, who is an American psychologist, and he says, embracing vulnerability enables us to communicate our needs, express our emotions, and build a solid foundation for a healthy relationship. Now, for me personally, and you guys can disagree if you want, but I feel like enable is a way better word than expose. And I feel as though building and connecting and communicating are way better words than physically or mentally attacking or harming somebody. That's why today, I want to take you on a journey. Now that we've understood what an inner room is, now that we've understood what the front porch represents, I want to teach you how you can be vulnerable. How you can start in that inner room start in the front porch and make it into that inner room and be vulnerable. So going back to that example with Enzo, right? I felt as though there was a gate. I felt like there was something blocking me from actually being let into his life. And I kept asking that question, why won't he let me in? Why won't he let me in? And as I thought about it more, I thought of another example. So I asked if she would let me share this. It's my good friend Anna from Frozen. She asked the same question. She was outside a door and she said, Elsa, why won't you let me in? Please. But what she didn't realize was what was on the other side of the door. It was Elsa, feeling like she was going to physically attack or harm Anna. And so she felt as though that she couldn't open that door because she was going to attack. She felt like she couldn't be vulnerable with Anna. And then something happens, something tragic happens. Their parents die. And this is a terrible event for them because they're already distancing themselves from each other, and this was the last thing holding them together. And their parents die, and Anna sits outside of that door again in the dumps and says, Elsa, please, I know you're in there. People are asking me where you've been. Please, just let me in. There's that phrase again. Please just let me in. But what she says next is really important, and you can disagree if you want. She says, do you want to build a snowman? It doesn't have to be a snowman. But Elsa was on the other side of the door, and she was experiencing things she felt like she couldn't express to Anna because she was in her inner room. She had locked the door, and she felt alone. She felt like she couldn't express her emotions to other people. And we can learn a lot from this story, from Anna and Elsa, and again with Enzo and the missionaries. But what I want to start with is this idea of connection, or the lack thereof. With Enzo, there was a lack of connection because I could never talk to him about the gospel. There were so many distractions. With Anna and Elsa, they used to be so close. They did everything together, and they distanced themselves from each other. So there was a lack of connection. So what does Anna do? She looks for it somewhere else. Now, I want you guys to finish the sentence for me. Love is
An open door.
an open door. Wait, a house, a door? What? What? An open door. Why does she say that? Love is an open door. Have you ever thought about that? Is it because she spent her whole life with doors shut in her face? And Hans is the first person she feels like she can connect with because there's something similar. So she feels as though that's love. She says, love is an open door because I finally connected with somebody. But is that love? We learn at the end of the movie, it's not love, right? She connects with her sister, and she hugs it out, right? Power of friendship, we win the movie. But do they understand what love really is now? And I have a new definition of love, because I don't think love is just a word. I think love means that we need to let others value the entirety. And this is exactly what Anna and Elsa do at the end of the movie, right? Anna, discouraged, wants to hug it out with her sister, and Elsa finally comes to her and says all of the struggles she's been experiencing. And because they're able to see the entirety, they really understand love. And because Anna saw the entirety of Hans, she realized, I don't love him. I don't. And it's because they saw the entirety. And in order to love, they had to meet each other where they're at. And we see this example with, do you want to build a snowman? It doesn't have to be a snowman. And that seems like a simple little song in a children's movie. But it has such a deep meaning because Anna wants to connect with Elsa. So she says, hey, let's build a snowman. We used to do that all the time when we were little. It doesn't have to be a snowman, though. Just come on, come out of that door. Right? And this is what I did with Enzo as well. We had to find where to meet him. And it was with mate. Now for you English speakers out there, that means the power of mate. But if you haven't had mate, just imagine yourself, you're running in the grass, you trip, and you get some in your mouth. That's mate. So. But mate is something very, very important in Argentina, right? It's part of their culture. It's something that helps them connect with other people. And I went up to my companions and I was like, why haven't we brought mate to his house? What are we doing? I brought mate outside of this gate. He comes up to us ready to just chat it up. And I say, Enzo, we have mate. We can't drink it outside. And guess what he does? He lets us in to his house. Something so simple as mate, something so simple as a snowman. That's what helps us get into that inner room. So we need to meet people where they're at. And I encourage you to think about, what is your snowman? What is your mate? What is the thing that helps you connect with other people? Brené Brown, who wrote a book about vulnerability, she says, vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome. Vulnerability is not weakness. It's our greatest measure of courage. And I testify of that, of showing up and being seen, because that's what we had to do with Enzo. I said, hey, I show up and I want you to feel seen. And he let us into his home. I love this picture. Look how happy he is. You can't even see his eyes because he's just grinning with so much joy. And it's because he felt the Spirit for the first time. It's because he opened that door to his inner room and allowed us to communicate with him. He allowed us to connect with him. And eventually, our connections and our lessons led him to show up to church with his children. And he was able to connect with other people as well. Going back to this inner room example, Enzo and Elsa are two great examples of somebody that was in the inner room. Two people that have closed off their feelings, felt like they can't be vulnerable because it will expose and attack. But as soon as they opened that door, they enabled building a relationship. As I have learned to open the door in my own life, in my inner room, I have found that my friends are my refuge. My family is my sanctuary. And Jesus Christ is my comfort. And it's because I have learned to connect with people. It is because I have learned to meet people where they're at. And most importantly, it is because I've learned to love. And I'm not talking again about that simple word love. I'm talking about letting others value my entirety. Letting others value the pieces that maybe I don't want people to know about me. But by doing so, I've found that I have been able to love fully. So for Elsa, she had to let in Anna. For Enzo, he had to let in the missionaries, and ultimately, Jesus Christ. And as you have been listening to this talk today, I know that somebody has been in your mind. So my last question for you is, who do you need to let in?